Welcome to Tough Conversations with David Wood, where play meets depth. We help teams and high-performing leaders like you to master your tough conversations so you succeed in your career and in your life. When we avoid tough conversations, we stay small. Teams stay disengaged, conflicted, and ultimately end up quitting. When we lean in and master our tough conversations, they become the defining moments that literally shape our careers, our relationships, and our lives. So let's dive in and master your next tough conversation so you can be the leader that you would follow. Let's play. Welcome, Real Nation, to this interview with Yanik Silva. I was very inspired by this interview, and I hope you will be too. He's got a fascinating background. You'll hear about Richard Branson, Necker Island, $400,000 invested in his dream with little return. Now be careful listening to this if you're an asshole, because Yanik says that money is an amplifier. We'll talk about his role as a catalyst, lighting 1,000 suns to light another 1,000 suns. Very inspiring. And we'll cover what's in it for you to get socially conscious and have a bigger impact. He'll talk about ways you can increase your impact, whether as an individual, an employee, or if you're a business leader. And you'll hear what my tarot card says when he draws my card. Yanik Silva redefines how business is played in the 21st century at the intersection of more profits, more fun, and, this is the kicker, more impact. He's the author of several best-selling books, including Evolved Enterprise, which I loved, by the way. Yanik is also the founder of Maverick 1000, a private, invitation-only global network of top entrepreneurs and industry leaders. This group periodically assembles for breakthrough retreats, rejuvenating experiences, and impact opportunities, to date raising over $3 million with participating icons. And, well, we'll get into that a little bit too. Welcome, Yanik Silva.
Hey, David, thank you.
So when you say participating icons, you know, if I was writing your bio, I'd be throwing the name Richard Branson in there all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, he's been one of my biggest, business heroes and people I really have been incredibly blessed to get to know, and we have a good history with our group and having him as one of the key people that we work with. So it's been about, I think we've done at least, it might even be 11 years. I was telling you before this, 10 years, it might even be 11 years. But let's say at least 10 years of retreats on his island that all correlate to getting together, learning from each other, and working on some big issues. And so, he's one of the guys that we've brought in before, and some of my other people that we really love that really have the same ethos, are like Tony Hsieh from Zappos, or Chip Conley, who built Joie de Vivre Hotels, and Sarah Blakely from Spanx, and several others. So they're that's one aspect of what we do.
Mm. Well, I realize I'm certainly talking to the right guy for the topic, which we'll get into.
All right.
Really about how you make an impact, whether you have a business or not. And I want to add my own flavor to this bio. Like that's the professional side, but I want to say the way I first heard of you was through internet marketing.
Yeah.
So back in the day, you were a big name in internet marketing. If you mentioned internet marketing, people would say Yanik Silva. And I actually went to one of your events.
Did you go to Underground?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I've got a new puppy, and she's just come to say hello, so she might join us. Actually, it's let me introduce you. This is Bella.
Oh, she's cute.
She's a little cutie. I was going to put her outside for this interview, but I thought, let her roam the house. If she pees in the house. So yeah, I went to Underground event, and I just remember you as internet marketer. Internet marketers don't have the best rap in general, the best reputation. And often I just think about profit. And then I met you at the Transformational Leadership Council retreat,
were you kind of like, what is this guy doing
Yeah.
here?
I'm like, how did he get here and why? And I thought there must be something about you that had them say yes, because they tend to only take people of depth in my experience. And then I got to meet you and experience you as a total sweetheart, just someone who present and who cares about people. And then I found out about your book, The Evolved Enterprise, and you're all about making impact, making a difference. And I feel a slight embarrassment in revealing this, but I feel like you've evolved beyond where I have. And in a way, I'm okay with that in my evolution. But you are more outward focused and looking at making a difference on the planet, way beyond where I am. So I really acknowledge you for that.
I appreciate that, and I don't, I don't think it's I don't think it's I don't know, a competition where there's a standing of who's evolved further and faster or whatever it is. So I think, we're all exactly on our right path, as you know. But
Right.
it has been a really interesting transition, where, I think I was always wired this way because, like, if you look back way back before I even put on the underground, which ran for 10 years, I ran an event, my 30th birthday bash. And we did it was like $50. It was a free event, essentially. And all $50 went to Make-A-Wish Foundation. And we ended up raising $25,000. And we had 5 years.
But
It was probably like one of the biggest internet marketing seminars. This was my very first actually internet marketing seminar I put on. And so I always had these seeds of that piece. Like it's almost like I talk about, the essence has always remained the same, but the expression has changed. And the essence has always been about what's, you said in the bio, we probably need to update it about make more, have more fun and make more impact. I mean, it's really, to me, been about growth, impact, and fun. So that growth has been the biggest change, because it's not just about business growth, but about personal evolutionary growth. And what does that look like? And I remember, it's been about maybe 11, 12 years now, where I just kind of looked at my life. I was, making a lot of money, had a great reputation in the online space, which isn't that easy. Great family, driving a hot sports car, kind of all the things that you would sort of expect from the outside looking in, that, this guy's really put it together. And I just asked myself a really simple question. And the question was, would I be happy 10 years from, first of all, am I happy? And then would I be happy 10 years from now doing the same thing I'm doing? And when I got really honest, the answer was no. And it just like, I was like, oh, okay. So then what's that look like? And then a lot of it was processing it in my journal. I'm a big journaler, and processing my journal. Okay, what would that ideal sort of world look like? And that kind of was the impetus to start something called Maverick Business Adventures, which now has evolved into Maverick 1000. But Maverick Business Adventures was like, okay, what would be the most fun? It'd be hanging out with people that I like, cool entrepreneurs. We would do these crazy, amazing adventures, and we would have some charity component to it. And all well and good until about $400,000 in, my wife's like, so what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. Because my interest had really waned in the online part of it, the publishing company that was sort of the cash cow that was contributing to all this. And then this other business, I don't even know if I could call it a business at that point, this other thing was just sucking money. But there was something there in it. I had to kind of think that was a big turning point, because until then, everything had really worked. Like I had 7 or 8 different products that hit the 7-figure mark without no business plan, no real, nothing really, no strategy, but just me doing it. And then this is the first thing that didn't necessarily work, but I truly like felt like I had my heart and soul into it in some way. And so it really forced me to look at, okay, what's my bigger why? And my why wasn't creating an adventure travel company. It was what our mission is now, which is changing the way businesses play.
Mm. Something you said really struck me, and I wrote it down. Actually, I'm writing down a few things. But one was, you said the essence is the same, the expression has changed.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's true of people too, that we have an essence at our core, and then as we evolve and grow, there's different expressions of it.
I think so. And, I just got a little bit of goosebumps as you're talking about it. To me, it's always an indicator of truth. And,
Mm.
or it's cold in the house, but I think that was truth. And, I always used to say, and I still say it, is like, let's take money, for instance, right? Like, to me, money's an amplifier. If you were a real jackass before you had money, then you just have more opportunity and more resources to become a bigger jackass. The way you treat people, what you do. But if in the opposite, if you really care about people, if you care about the world, then money creates resources for you to be able to do that, and just amplifies who you are. And so to me, yeah, I think the essence does remain the same for the most part. And then it's how do we express it out into the world?
Mm. I want to know about, you're talking about making a difference, right?
Yeah.
I want to speak for all the listeners who might be thinking, but I don't want to make a difference. I'm not there. I remember when I did the Landmark Forum, and I ended up standing up with tears in my eyes, in desperation, and said to the leader, "You guys are all talking about solving world hunger and creating world peace and all these huge things. But what if I don't care about that? I want to, I think I should, but I'm just trying to make a living. I'm just trying to like focus on myself. Is there something wrong with me?" What do you say to that?
I mean, that's a very real thing. It's like, if we feel like our needs aren't being met, then of course that's the first thing. And I also think that people can maybe, there's become this word going on, spiritual bypassing. And I don't
Yes.
know if this is the right definition of it, or example of it, but I think maybe there's an impact bypassing that happens, where you could get so wrapped up in being like, okay, I want to solve these global issues, but I haven't really worked on myself. So it's like, not, it's almost like we can't, the old adage or analogy about, if your cup isn't full, then you can't pour into someone else's cup.
Right.
And that's the same with these global issues and things like that. If our cup isn't full, I had this realization. You'll like this, David. In so the reason we changed, about 6 years ago, we changed the group from Maverick Business Adventures, because there's just adventures, to what's called now Maverick 1000. Was this idea that came to me, or this answer in my journal, and the question was, what would my 111-year-old self tell me? And so I like writing also with my opposite hand, so my non-dominant hand. I learned it from a guy named Bill Donius, Thought Revolutions. And there's a funny story behind that. If we have time, we can get into that. But so the answer was, light 1,000 suns who can each light another 1,000 suns. And if you think about that's such a powerful image of what that is. A sun's an entire universe creator, and the sun creates life everywhere. And so I've been talking about that for a long, long time. And we, even changed the name of what we're doing to reflect this. And then I'm sitting in a sweat lodge back a couple months ago in October with this amazing woman, Pat McCabe, who's a Navajo grandmother. And have you ever done a sweat lodge?
Yes.
Yeah. So, there's a couple different cycles, right? So, and then one of them's a prayer cycle. And so she goes around and she said, who has prayers? And a couple of the members gave up some prayers. And then she's like, okay, Yanik, you brought everyone here. What are you doing? Why'd you bring us all here? And at that moment, it just really hit me, is my role. I've always said my role is to catalyze the catalysts. And I said, my role is to catalyze the cosmos. And that is by lighting 1,000 suns who can each light another 1,000 suns. And when I said that, it was like full truth, like just felt it. And then even she, because you don't, whatever you say in there or you do in there is not like, it's not a joke. Like it's a very serious technology. Like it's the way that the reeds of the birch trees are positioned as constellations. And it's like, there's a very much of significance to everything that happens in there beforehand. And so she's like, she didn't just let that sit there. She's like, okay. And she thought about that, process that. And she said, do you know what you're asking for? And I said, I thought for a moment, I'm like, yeah, I do. And she said, okay. She went through, what does the sun do and everything about it, and the nourishment of every single creature and everything on, for the entire universe. And I'm like, yeah. And so it really just hit me like that. That's that truth. And then the other insight that really hit me was, I can't light suns unless I'm fully lit myself.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from this is, well, a couple of things. First, fill your own cup first.
Yeah.
Light your own sun first. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So that makes sense. And then I'm also seeing that if I light 1,000 suns, as I have more of an impact on the planet, on the world, those suns can also have an impact
Yeah.
on
So
others. So there's a ripple effect.
yeah, the ripple impact is so big to me. I mean, like I'm definitely a big global thinker, but I can't get behind me being that voice of, I don't know, reaching 7 billion people in some way. Like that doesn't feel like my purpose here. What I do think I can do very well is I think in these leverage nodes. And I love bringing together my friends and colleagues and people that have big voices and platforms and the potential to be those people and help nudge them into the greatest version of who they can be, and help them continue evolving into their greatest purpose. And that's not just me doing it, but it's like bringing in the teachers like this, like Pat, the Navajo grandmother, who brings such incredible indigenous wisdom, and bringing that in together, and then letting those resources be the nudges, and then those ripples just become so much greater because, again, that analogy of the 1,000 suns. So if they can each light another 1,000 suns, and the members start talking about this, I was hanging out with a couple of them this past week, doing a one-day consult for a few of them, and they were just talking about, okay, these are my suns that I'm lighting. These, so they're thinking about that, and that's really exciting to me because, again, those ripples that continue echoing out.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the why. So let's suppose we've got, and I'm thinking of 3 categories. I'm thinking about people in general, employees at whatever level, and I'm thinking about businesses. And I want to get into each of those if we have time.
Okay.
But let's suppose you got somebody listening says, all right, I've got a bit of oxygen on myself. I filled up my cup a bit. My son is fairly lit. What's in it for them? What's in it for me to start to think outside myself and to start think about having an impact on either my community, my relationships, my planet, my country? What's in it for me?
Yeah. Well,
How would
this
I
is
do it?
well, this is the greatest paradox, I think, and it's so funny. It's like, because first of all, I think humans were just wired. We feel great when we give, and we make a difference, and there's a reason for that as social beings. So if you just think about the last time that you did anything that was, whether it was providing money, whether it's providing your time, providing your talents for something outside of yourself, just think about how it made you feel. And I would bet 98% of the time it made you feel really good, unless it wasn't aligned with your values in some way.
Huh.
So you think back to those moments, and it's like just that greatest paradox of what serves the collective actually is totally self-serving for you. And so inside Evolved Enterprise, I have a lot of stats and research at the beginning about how there is this seismic shift going on, and my focus is on for entrepreneurs and business, but it's happening everywhere. But so the stats are showing that customers want to buy more from companies that have a greater purpose and impact in what they're doing. So they're either willing to change brands, pay the same amount of money, or pay even more premium for companies that have that purpose to what they're doing. And then it's happening so that's the outside in, and then the inside out is team members. You can think yourself, like, who would you rather work for or work with? A company that that has a greater mission, or would it just be like, I'm working just to get a paycheck and I don't really care? Like, that's the biggest thing going on. And I just had an interesting meeting that I was invited to with the Virgin Unite team, an initiative that they call the 100% Human at Work initiative. And it's all about these bigger companies thinking about how do you bring the entire team, like their full selves, into work, because everyone has kind of seen those stats about 70% of employees are actively disengaged,
Yeah.
and they want to really change that idea. And that's starts with having a greater mission, but also like using, I started listening to, so the corporate world's not really my world, and it's really, really interesting. There are people there from Unilever, and people there from Ernst & Young, and a bunch of other bigger companies. And they're talking about using the workplace as a healing space, with some of the comments going on, using the workspace as a transformational space. Like, I'm like, wow, that's really, that's great to see that happening. And I see, more and more of this shift going on from not just companies that realize that this is where the world is heading. And it's like, it becomes a pragmatic thing too. It's not just a feel good thing, but a pragmatic thing. It's like, if they want to actually create more revenue and more shareholder value, they have to think about impact.
So I just had an insight hearing you speak, that you said that one of the reasons to do this is you're going to have more sales, you're going to have more profits, because customers want to work with a company that has a mission, that's doing something for the planet. And I realized I gravitate towards that. I also, what I'm hearing is that people care in general. And so I'm realizing that even though I might think, oh, I don't care a lot about the planet, I'm not on this massive mission, I'll go and buy a product from someone who is.
Yeah, right. And I bet, so, one of my favorite spots, my wife thinks I'm crazy because I love grocery stores, but I like the high-end grocery stores, especially because they have great products in there. They have great stories on the packaging and what they're doing, and really a lot of consciousness and a lot of intention about how they're creating the products and what it is. And I like reading the stories, and I'll decide, which ones I'm buying and so forth. And I bet, you do the same in certain ways, or whatever it is, as you're saying, that I'm buying from companies that have a greater purpose. That's another spot that we always have a choice, and we can vote with our wallet about what our values are.
Yeah. So you heard it here, Real Nation. 3 reasons to have a mission for your business is it feels good. Whenever, you watch a movie and someone's giving, you feel good because at our core, we're aligned with actually having an impact. So it feels good. You have more sales and more profits because customers want to work with you. Hiring staff is going to be easier. People will be attracted to work with you, so you can get the best talent. And I just realized another idea: the media gets more interested when you're doing
definitely gets more interested. Celebrities get more interested. It's like you have this really nice piggyback effect that can happen. And I think so. In the book, I talk about, like, there's this window. I called it a 4 to 7 year window of that you have. This is kind of like the last competitive advantage I see for businesses, is to have this mission and have this purpose to what they do. And because of the things that you mentioned there, the media and the celebrities and just, other partners, right? Like, bigger companies want to partner with other companies that are doing these things because they get the halo effect of it. So you have this opportunity that really presents itself. And it's like, it just feels like, if you go down deep into your heart, unless you are completely numbers driven only, and thinking about, this is the marketplace that I looked at, and this is why I picked this spot to go make my beachhead for my business, there's still something that drives at your heart, and you can combine all that together. And that's what gets really exciting, is you can combine your head, which is your business sense, The marketing smarts, like that doesn't have to go away. You combine your head, your heart, and your highest purpose. And then it gets really interesting because you get that full alignment of who you are and what you're meant to be doing here.
Wow. I'm writing that down. Combine your head, your heart, and your highest purpose. What I'm hearing here is an opportunity for integration. The different parts of you, the part of you that already cares, might want more of a chance to express itself. And you've probably got the head down. You got that already working for you if you've got some kind of success in business. If you
Yeah.
bring your head, your heart, and your highest purpose together, you heard it here.
I don't like that. So that's your head, your heart, your highest purpose. But I do a lot of doodling as I'm talking. So if you ever see me
You
looking
do, yeah. And you've even got a book of doodles, don't you?
I do have a book of doodle. Yeah, it's called the Cosmic Journal.
Yeah. Um, so before we wrap up, I want to know, what about someone who doesn't have a business? What if there's an executive or a manager or a staff member who's just thinking, can I evolve as well? Can I have a mission? How does that work?
So in the framework for evolved enterprise, everything always starts with you, right? So evolving yourself. So looking at, this is the kind of work that you do really well, David, like having people explore who they are, looking at their shadow side, looking at, the archetypes that are involved and that they are associated with, like figuring out what's their path to playing for real, for playing, as you call it, and having that daring game and all these things that we talk about as being fully self-expressed. So that doesn't go away. Like just because you're, quote unquote, an employee or a executive, whatever it is, your function in your business life, like that doesn't matter. Like the more we continue working on ourselves, the more you're going to be able to see the spots that you can make a difference. And we have more leverage than we even think. I believe. I always, for entrepreneurs and other people, I talk about there's 5 big ways that businesses can make a difference. And wherever you are in your business world, you probably have influence on one or multiple ones of these 5. So it's
Well, can you take us though to people who don't have a business?
yeah, but you're doing something. So I think that you have influence in these 5 aspects. So it's like looking at where you have influence.
Yep, right.
There's the term intrapreneur, right? So that's been tossed around as like, you're able to get things going within the company. And so using the company's resources and distribution and so forth. So
Yeah.
there's projects and ways that you can, if you're looking for a leadership role, it's like you have the opportunity to do it. And I think when we also get out of our own heads of we need the credit for it, or we need, like, what is this going to lead? Is this a I don't know, a way to get a raise? Is this a way to get ahead and on the corporate ladder, or whatever it is? Like when we take that away and just start following, okay, this is where I see I've got some power or leverage or influence. And then, what is it? Like, it's really easy to just lay back and be like, yeah, I can't do any of this because I'm an employee or I'm a team member here or whatever it is. But you have, you're connected to more than you even think. So when I think about those 5 ways, it's supply chain. So who are we buying from? If you have any influence over there's certain things that can happen in that aspect. There's the distribution that we have in some way. It's the voices that we have as a company. It's the team. So if you have any kind of hiring authority, like who are you hiring? And there's ways of maybe hiring underserved communities, people that come from represent these underserved communities in some way that actually become a competitive advantage, not a disadvantage. And then our actual talent itself, like contributing talent. So, I didn't say money in any of those 5 instances. So
Yeah.
there's all these different ways that you can play and make a greater difference. And even if you decide, well, screw it, I don't care about my company doing any of these things because they don't really care about it. There's other ways in your own life that you can do things. I mean, we have so much time available right now. It's just, how do we want to use that time? Is it scrolling through social media? Is it watching TV and binging Netflix. And, I do those things every once in a while too, but I try and catch myself about what is the intentionality of it. Is it to just sort of, have a little bit of a mini vacation, or is there a real reason for it? And it's easy to get sucked into thinking one thing and then get sucked into those vortexes and come out, an hour and a half later and be like, what the hell just happened? And then also check your state. Like, do you feel better when you do that? If, is there a real purpose? Like if I'm watching a movie, I'm like, that was my intention. I set that intention to watch that movie, watched it, great. But if it's like a binge watching ongoing thing and, scrolling after scrolling, like
Right. It's unconscious.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Well,
things like that. Yeah.
You've opened up a whole new concept for me. So I thought, yeah, if you've got a business, you can make a big impact. But as an individual, what we can do, this concept of intrapreneur is fascinating to me. So you might enroll your company in taking on a mission. You may enroll your coworkers. The company doesn't even get involved. Maybe they won't even sponsor you, but your coworkers might end up having a mission, which brings everybody together as a bonus. I've got a client who he wanted some kind of team building exercise for his staff. Instead of hiring a company to come in and team build, they're going to go and volunteer at a shelter together.
I mean, that's one of the best ways of getting cohesiveness and people coming together is if they can actually get their hands, quote unquote, dirty together and do things. There's real power in that.
And then as an individual, I'm realizing, the classic is you can donate 5 or 10% of your salary to some kind of charity.
Sure.
You can also just go and volunteer at a homeless shelter. You can get yourself involved in some way.
Yeah.
So Yanik, this is epic. You've really opened up a lot for me about firstly filling up the cup yourself, and then when you do feel like you have some surplus, aligning your head, your heart, and your highest purpose, whether you're an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur or simply a human who wants.
And let me throw out one more idea for maybe an intrapreneur idea or anyone inside the company, which is try and push an experiment. It doesn't have to be a full-blown revamp of something, but say, give me this one product line, or have this one promotional opportunity, this one window. And let's say there are products that you're selling, maybe you're in charge of those in some way. And you say, give me January, and then let us do, a percent that goes to this cause that we could get behind and see what that looks like.
Yeah.
And then let them track, and then they're going to see, did our sales increase or not? And then, then the initiatives can get bigger and broader and so forth. So try and push these little experiments and see what happens.
Yeah. Yanik, where can people find out more about you if they want to connect with you?
So they can grab the, Evolved Enterprise book off Amazon or anywhere else. And then my blog is yaniksilver.com, YANIK silver.com, where I post some of my doodles and illustrations and periodic articles and blog posts.
And that really is a beautiful journal. It's full of Yanik's doodles. And yaniksilver.com, guys.
Yeah, actually, let's do something fun if you're up for it. So this is the Cosmic Journal. This is the limited edition one. A new version's coming out in November, but it works like an oracle. So you can flip to a page and it'll have a message for you. So you want to try one?
Yeah. What's my message?
Well, I don't know. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Huh. All right, interesting. I don't know if this applies to you or not, but maybe it applies to some of the people that are. So it says, why drinking could be derailing your destiny of greatness.
That fits.
So
that fits. I often have one or two drinks and I feel like it's probably not getting me where I want to be. All right, I'm going to sit with that. Yanik Silver, thank you. That was epic.
Thanks, David.
Okay, Real Nation, that was Yanik Silver with some ways that you can have a bigger impact on your community, your country, the world without performing a spiritual bypass. Now, it's interesting to note that since doing this interview, by coincidence, I say, I just happen to have stopped drinking. It was about 8 days ago. I decided to do an experiment, take out caffeine from my life, take out alcohol from my life, and I'm feeling way better. And then I'm watching this interview with Yanik, and I've forgotten about this tarot card, which says drinking may derail your greatness. So coincidence or not, you decide. What's one thing you can do in your role that would feel good and perhaps even increase your fun, profit, and of course, your impact? You've been listening to Tough Conversations with David Wood. Now it's action time. Mastering your tough conversations will have a major impact on your team, your company, and you as a high-performing executive or entrepreneur. If you're ready, request a discovery session with me at playforreal.life so we can transform your team, your company, and you. And if you've enjoyed this episode, I would love you to help me spread this message of tough conversations in a very simple way. Just leave a public review at playforreal.life/podcast. And you may hear me read it out loud and thank you live on a future podcast. Now, let's play.